Today we are cooking up 3 little animal hats. This is Simplicity 1514. It's out of stock. You can't find it on the Simplicity website, but I have been able to find it on Minerva and also Etsy and Amazon. So it's still around. So cute. Oh my gosh. So it has these little pointy ears for this one. It's lined. You can make self-lining. It has these really sweet little pockets, so it's sort of an all-in-one. We did this one with the little paw pads on the pocket, very cute, with the rounded ears, more of a bear style. And then the last one is just the reverse of the first one. It has the unicorn fabric on the outside and then little pink ears and then the unicorn pockets. These are super simple to make. Let's get started. All right, let's start with the ears. I'm using piece 7, so this piece is for the pointy ear. If you're going to use the rounded ear, it's exactly the same, except you don't gather around the edges. So you're going to put these right sides together. Which side is my right side? There we go. So you're gonna put these right sides together and you're gonna sew them all the way around except for this bottom edge down here. You're gonna leave that open. You're gonna sew it. This is, look at that, super, like there's hair everywhere. I'm going to overlock all the edges on this. I'm gonna leave this edge open. After I sew them and overlock them, I'll clip it and then we'll come back and look at the bottom of them. All right, so after you sew the right sides of the ears together, you turn them inside right and just close up the bottom down here. Now for the little rounded ones, they stay like this. For these pointed ones, the pattern suggests that you run a basting stitch and gather them. I opted to just put a little tuck in each of the ear. I think that looks really cute. And then they get attached on your pattern. There's a large dot and a small dot on one side of this great big dart you have here. So you're going to attach them and make sure when you attach them that if you're using a contrast, that the contrast is going to be on the front, because they would look silly if they were backwards. So with just the little dart in them, that's what mine look like, right? They just have that little, I just folded it. And then you just baste them on so they're there and they're not going anywhere. So now we have the 2 pieces of the front with our really cute little ears on there. How sweet is that, right? The other thing I want you to think about is this is compressed air, okay? This stuff that I'm using is going everywhere and my machine is not gonna be happy. But this, you just attach this little straw into the hole that comes with it, and then when you blow on it, it blows all the stuff away from your machine without you blowing on it. You don't want to blow on the inside of your machine. So I use this to clean off all the inside of my machine where my needle goes and everything, because you don't want all that fur down there. All right, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to sew the front, sew the pieces to right sides together. And we're going to sew them up here at this top portion. The construction on this, it seems like a little counterintuitive, but it goes together really quickly. Get those ears out of the way. And then this is the back of the hood. So we're gonna stitch that. So it looks something like this. So we're stitching this section here, this back of the hood, and then the top of the hood up here. And these are our outside pieces. These are the pieces with the ears attached to them. Now, I'm not going to put these little paws on this unicorn one, but I did put them on, how cute is that, on the pockets on the other one that I made. This is the little bear one with the round ears. So there's a couple of different ways to go about this. I didn't have the fusible backing. They suggest you take fusible backing, apply and then transfer this and cut these out of the fusible and then fuse them on and stitch them. I want to use this again, so I didn't do that. You could make a Xerox of it, you know, you can make a copy of it with your machine, but I just used a marker and I traced on the back side of this fabric and then cut them out and then stitched them with a zigzag. And they're not perfect. This is gonna end up in the mud, you know, I mean, it's for a kid, right? So I just zigzag them on. He will be very happy. They look adorable. They're not perfect, but they look like paws. And he can stick his hands in there and have a great time. So that's my suggestion with this piece. For the unicorn one, I am not going to add the paw pieces on. I don't think they're necessary. So the next step is to deal with the pocket. After you've put the transfer on, what we want to do is we want to fold in the top edge of each of the pockets and make a finished edge on the top of the pocket. So we're going to go ahead and do that now. For me, that means running a bead of overlocking on it, because look, this stuff is just falling apart. Love it, cute, really everywhere. If I had some artistic talent, I would have put a hoof on here, I guess, for the unicorn, but I did not. So I folded over the edge of my pocket, made it nice and neat, and I sewed it to the right side of my lining, which is kind of interesting. I think that I'm not sure why it's on the inside, but it is on the inside. So we'll see how it looks like with the little Rugrats, and I don't think they'll really care all that much, but I sewed both of my pocket pieces to the right side of the up of the pocket, right side of the lining, so it's all facing up. And then we sewed the main part of our garment, the top and the back of the hood, right sides together. So it comes out looking something like this. You have this weird opening in the center, which is actually the cap of the hood, but it's starting to look really cute. So the next step is to sew this cap together. And because I overlocked mine, I can move one seam to one side and one seam to the other. But if you didn't and you left them straight, if you have a fabric that isn't raveling, then you can open the seams up or push them to one side, whatever makes most sense for you. And there's a lot of fabric here when we start looking at these ears. You kind of have to go slow through your machine. And essentially what we're making is a big dart. And this is going to be going across the top of the head. If you look at your tissue paper, your tissue piece, we're bringing this together to make a dart. That's what gives it shape. So I want to mark the end of my dart. So I'm just folding my tissue together, and this dot here at the end is where my dart is going to end. I'm just going to put a pin there. So at this end dot, I'm going to start super small, and I'm gradually going to get bigger and bigger until I get to my 5/8 inch seam allowance. I'm going to go over the center seam and then back down the other side and end at the same dart place. And to do that, there's a lot of fabric here. I'm just gonna mark the dart on this side so they're even. I'm gonna mark it the same as the one I just marked. Oop, that didn't hold. These ears have a lot more fabric in them than the little round bear ears did, because they have that extra pleat. But essentially we're gonna sew that seam together to make our cap. And we're gonna take these two lining pieces and we're gonna sew them exactly the same way we sewed our first piece. We're gonna sew them right sides together, and we're gonna sew the back, this back of the hood, and the front, and then we're gonna sew this dart going around the side. So then we'll have two pieces. All you do is sew them together. Now, when you sew this lining piece, one of the things you have to do is leave an opening, because you need to be able to turn it inside right when you sew them together. So when I have to sew and leave an opening, I put 2 pins together. So this is my personal technique. So when I see 2 pins together like that, that means I need to stop sewing. It's just a reminder in case I put this down and I go somewhere else and then I pick it up and I just go ahead and sew it. It saves me from having to rip out that seam. So on the inside lining piece, we're going to leave an opening. We're going to sew the front and the back of the hood with this opening. Then we're going to sew this dart together, and then we're going to put the 2 pieces together. Woof! I am making 2 of these at once in the reverse of each other. So let's start with the one that we've been working on. I stitched all the way across that dart, and then I just cleaned up these edges. And ta-da! We have our cute little hoodie. Adorable. And then the lining for this one has the pockets, and I stitched the front seam and the back hood seam, leaving an opening in between. Now I'm going to go ahead and stitch the dart in this one just like I did with this front piece. We are in the home stretch. So I have the right side of my hood, and I'm going to take the lining of my hood and put them right sides together. So I'm actually going to kind of scoop this right side of this hood and the right side of the lining, and I'm going to pin them together here at the front and go all the way around. All right, so we have this pinned all the way around, right sides together. And remember, because we left this opening in the lining, we're going to be able to sew this in one continuous strip. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. When I come back, we will turn our hat inside out. Okay, we have 2 here. They're opposite each other, and we've sewn them all the way around. So we have this hood that looks like this, right? We have contrast, and we left the opening in the lining. So this one is pink with the unicorn lining. Then you have to stuff it through that hole. So the smaller you make the hole, the harder it is to pull it out. However, the bigger the hole you make, the more you have to sew up. So it's kind of a catch-22. But these are so cute when they come out. So you have to do a little fluffing and folding. Here is our pink hat. Our little pink hat with the, how sweet is that? Let's turn this one around. All right, and here is our little unicorn one. I mean, these ears are just so cute. Little pockets on the inside, and then this one's pink on the outside with the unicorn on the inside. So once you've done that, all you're going to do is go back in this opening. You're going to stitch it, hand stitch it closed, and then it's done. Now, if you have fabrics, these fabrics are super soft. I didn't need to clip the seams on the curves on the inside. You might want to do that if your fabrics are have a little bit more body. Also, I'm okay with them rolling around, but if you do something silky on the inside or fabrics that just don't go together, you might want to run a bead of stitching all the way around. I mean, certainly that's optional, but yeah, these are just, oh my gosh, so cute.